It is month 3. Nancy Guthrie is still missing. And today, the FBI focus is no longer on a smashed security camera. They are decoding a second disconnected device. A device operating directly inside the victim. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos has officially labeled this a targeted crime. Someone deliberately hunted an 84-year-old woman. They bypassed a modern residential security perimeter with clinical precision. They left a distinct trace of her blood on the front porch, yet they maintained absolute perfection inside the house. There was no forced entry. There were no overturned chairs. There were no signs of a violent struggle. Forensic teams found a completely pristine interior. The digital timeline holds a terrifying dark void. There is an unexplained 41-minute gap between the moment the exterior camera went blind and the exact second the pacemaker inside Nancy lost its Bluetooth connection. That digital tether only drops when the medical device is physically moved out of range from her mobile phone. This means the attacker was inside. This means the attacker had control. What did the masked intruder do inside that silent house for 41 long minutes? How do you extract an elderly woman without disturbing a single piece of furniture? That is the core anomaly we are investigating today. If you want to track the digital footprint this phantom left behind, make sure you subscribe to Tracking Evil with John and turn on notifications. We follow the forensic data as it breaks, and this case is shifting daily. Let us establish the raw physical timeline. January 31st, 9:48 at night. Tommaso Cioni drives his mother-in-law home after a routine family dinner. He drops her off at her isolated Catalina Foothills residence. He watches her go inside. 2 minutes later, the heavy garage door closes. Cioni drives away into the dark. The house is entirely secure. The wealthy neighborhood is completely quiet. There are no distress calls. There are no alarms triggered. The next day at 12:15 in the afternoon, police arrive at the property. The house is empty. Nancy is simply gone. That is the official sequence broadcast on every morning news network. You have heard the desperate family statements. You have seen the endless press conferences. You know, the victim is vulnerable and depends on daily cardiovascular medication. But when crime scene investigators actually step through that front door, the narrative fractured immediately. The public thinks this is a standard kidnapping. The physical evidence left behind defies basic criminal logic. We are not looking at a chaotic home invasion. We are looking at a meticulously executed extraction. Look closely at the exterior entrance. The concrete porch holds a distinct forensic marker. It is a single trace of biological material. The stain is relatively small. It does not indicate a massive laceration. It is a concentrated drop. Crime scene technicians immediately secure the perimeter. They photograph the stain from multiple angles. They place the forensic scale next to the biological evidence. They use a sterile cotton swab to collect the sample. They run the preliminary chemical test right there on the porch. The phenolphthalein reagent turns a bright, unmistakable pink. It is confirmed human blood. The sample is sealed in a breathable paper envelope. It goes directly to the rapid processing unit. The forensic biologists extract the genetic material. They amplify the DNA sequence. The genetic markers isolate quickly. The system searches for a match. The profile aligns perfectly with the medical records of the homeowner. It is definitively the blood of Nancy Guthrie. This physical reality dictates a specific narrative. It suggests a violent physical confrontation right at the threshold of the home. It paints a picture of an immediate struggle before entry. Standard criminal profiling tells us what happens next. You expect the violence to continue across that threshold. You expect a chaotic physical trail leading deep inside the residence. A struggle outside always bleeds into the interior. Investigators carefully open the heavy wooden front door. They draw their weapons. They brace for a shattered interior. They expect overturned furniture. They expect defensive wounds on the walls. They find absolute perfect silence. The foyer is entirely undisturbed. The decorative floor rugs lie perfectly flat against the hardwood. The entryway console table holds everyday items in neat, meticulous arrangement. The mail is stacked. The keys are untouched. There is no shattered glass anywhere. There are no scuff marks from rubber soles on the polished floor. The living room looks like a staged photograph. The cushions on the sofa are perfectly aligned. The television is off. The medical supplies in the kitchen are organized. There is zero evidence of a struggle in any room. This is the central physical paradox of the crime scene. It is a paradox that defies logic. Kidnapping an uncooperative adult is an inherently violent process. It is a chaotic, unpredictable event. Human bodies have mass, human bodies have weight. Human bodies instinctively resist capture. That violent physical resistance displaces the surrounding environment. An attacker cannot forcefully drag an 84-year-old woman through a narrow hallway without knocking a picture frame askew. An attacker cannot physically subdue a conscious victim without leaving a single scuff mark on the baseboards. Yet, the interior of this Catalina Foothills house remains completely pristine. This unbroken perfection forces the FBI profilers to evaluate terrifying alternative hypotheses. Hypothesis 1 suggests the attacker possessed a physical key to the residence. This implies intimate access. It implies prolonged surveillance. It implies the attacker knew the victim well enough to copy a key. Hypothesis 2 suggests the attacker picked the deadbolt with elite tactical precision. Forensics technicians completely dismantle the front door lock assembly. They examine the internal metal pins under extreme magnification. They look for the telltale micro scratches left by lockpicks. They look for tension wrench indentations. They find absolutely nothing. The lock was never manipulated by foreign tools. Hypothesis 3 is the most psychologically unsettling. Nancy Guthrie simply opened the door voluntarily in the middle of the night. She may have recognized a familiar voice in the dark. She may have been deceived by an official uniform. But this theory directly contradicts the biological evidence on the porch. If she opened the door willingly, why did she bleed before ever crossing the threshold? There is a final physical theory to consider. The interior is immaculately clean because it was chemically sanitized after the fact. A highly organized strike team might deploy to remove all forensic trace. They wipe down the granite countertops. They vacuum the microscopic fibers. They reset the physical environment to delay the police response. But a professional cleanup crew does not make a fatal error. They do not leave a glaring blood stain on the front porch concrete. They use heavy bleach on the exterior. The blood outside and the perfect order inside simply cannot coexist in a standard criminal profile. The physical space offers zero answers. It only presents an impossible, terrifying contradiction. The local detectives hit a solid brick wall. Traditional physical forensics completely fail to explain the sequence of events. The blood evidence tells one violent story. The pristine living room tells another silent story. The physical investigation is a dead end. The law enforcement team must immediately pivot their strategy. They stop looking down at the hardwood floors. They look up at the digital infrastructure of the property. The house is rigged with modern consumer security hardware. The primary line of defense is the exterior smart doorbell camera. Investigators examine the physical unit mounted by the door. The plastic casing is heavily compromised. The internal wiring is exposed. The camera lens is physically blinded. The local storage medium is completely useless. The attacker targeted this specific device immediately. He neutralized the hardware to completely mask his physical approach. He believed that destroying the physical camera permanently destroyed the digital record. He clearly understood local electrical circuitry. He severely underestimated modern digital cloud architecture. The camera hardware on the wall is merely a physical shell. The true surveillance power lies in the remote software backend. Every single time that camera lens detects human motion, it initiates a complex digital sequence. It does not just record video to a fragile local memory card. It instantly compresses the live video feed. It encrypts the data packets. It transmits that digital stream wirelessly to a remote server farm thousands of miles away in real time. The physical destruction of the camera is irrelevant. The FBI Digital Forensics Unit completely bypasses the destroyed hardware on the porch. They contact Google directly. They request emergency federal access to the back-end storage servers. The data engineers comply. The federal agents pull the encrypted data stream from the cloud. They painstakingly reconstruct the corrupted data packets. They render the final frames of video captured milliseconds before the physical destruction of the unit. A glowing digital timestamp materializes on the bottom of the screen. It reads exactly 1:47 in the morning. This is the exact moment the residential perimeter is violently breached. The digital ghost finally steps into the frame. The recovered video shows a solitary male figure approaching the front door. He moves with extreme calculated purpose. There is absolutely no hesitation in his stride. He walks with a steady, measured pace. He wears a dark, full face mask. The fabric obscures all identifying facial features. He does not look around nervously like a common burglar. He stares directly into the camera lens. He raises a gloved hand. He executes a rapid, precise movement to kill the video feed. The screen abruptly goes black. This short recovered footage completely alters the nature of the entire threat. Look closely at the tactical preparation of this intruder. He actively conceals his physical identity from digital capture. He neutralizes the exterior surveillance network with practiced clinical efficiency. He operates entirely in the blind spots. He acts exactly like a highly trained professional executing a pre-planned strike. Now factor the physical biological evidence back into this new digital reality. We have a masked professional who disables smart cameras in seconds. We also have a random blood stain left on the front porch. I need you to deeply analyze this contradiction. Tell me your exact forensic logic down in the comments below. Do you truly believe an 84-year-old woman fought back hard enough against a tactical intruder to draw blood right outside her front door? Or is that crimson stain a deliberate forensic decoy? Did this masked attacker intentionally leave her blood on the concrete to purposely mislead the investigators and confuse the timeline? Drop your best theory in the comments right now. This is exactly how we build the behavioral profile. We need your sharp analytical minds focused on this raw data. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to track every update in this active investigation, because recovering the exterior video from the cloud is only the very first technical breakthrough. The camera footage only captures the initial perimeter breach at 1:47 in the morning. It only shows us exactly who approached the door. It completely fails to show us what happened next. The camera goes black. The house goes utterly silent. To see what happened inside that dark interior, we must abandon the home security system entirely. We must track a completely different digital signal. We must look at the encrypted medical data emitting directly from the heart of the victim herself. The greatest device betraying the crime in this case is not mounted on an exterior wall. It is beating directly inside Nancy Guthrie's chest. Modern pacemakers are not just simple internal metronomes regulating a heartbeat. They are highly advanced digital transmitters operating on secure frequencies. They continuously broadcast vital biometric telemetry outward. They utilize a specialized low-energy Bluetooth protocol designed for medical hardware. They connect directly to a dedicated smartphone application installed on the patient's personal device. The smartphone acts as a localized digital relay station. It sits quietly on the bedside table and logs every single heartbeat. It requires constant physical proximity to the chest implant to function correctly. This invisible digital tether has a strict maximum operational range of roughly 30 feet. If the pacemaker physically leaves that invisible 30-foot radius, the wireless connection severs instantly. The medical data log permanently records that precise moment of signal failure. The remote cloud server recorded the exact millisecond the biometric signal died. The digital death occurred at exactly 2:28 in the morning. I want you to critically analyze this physical timeline. The exterior smart camera was permanently blinded by the masked intruder at 1:47. The internal medical tether was forcefully severed at 2:28. That creates an exact 41-minute window of absolute darkness. 41 minutes is an absolute eternity in the violent context of a residential home invasion. Standard residential burglaries operate on a chaotic and compressed 3-minute timeline. Criminals smash the rear glass. They grab the visible valuables. They flee the perimeter long before the local police sirens ever sound. Professional cartel extractions operate even faster than common thieves. Tactical teams breach the primary doors with overwhelming physical force. They secure the human target aggressively. They are back inside the getaway vehicle in under 90 seconds flat. This masked intruder did not rush the operation. This intruder had 41 minutes of complete uninterrupted silence inside an occupied residential home. What exactly occurs during 41 minutes of total darkness inside a pristine house? The physical forensic evidence proves the interior was never ransacked or searched. The intruder did not tear apart the master bedroom closets looking for a hidden floor safe. The intruder did not empty the expensive jewelry boxes onto the bed. The physical environment remained absolutely frozen in perfect domestic order. This means the armed intruder spent 41 minutes actively managing a highly conscious 84-year-old victim. Did he sit with her quietly in the dark living room? Did he force her to methodically pack a small travel bag? Did he force her to carefully collect her specialized cardiovascular medication from the kitchen counter? A panicked amateur kidnapper dragging a physically struggling victim leaves a massive trail of physical destruction. A highly disciplined operative maintains absolute environmental control over the space. The 41-minute gap is the most terrifying data point in the entire federal investigative file. It proves the Phantom was never afraid of an armed response. He knew the local police were not coming. He knew the residential alarm system was completely dead. He operated with the cold, terrifying luxury of time. He moved through that quiet house like a violent ghost holding a stopwatch. The Federal Behavioral Science Unit is obsessively focused on analyzing this specific duration. Time is the ultimate psychological indicator of criminal confidence. A panicked amateur rushes the timeline and makes fatal forensic mistakes. A seasoned professional dictates the exact pace of the entire operation. He controlled the physical environment completely until 2:28 in the morning. That is the exact moment he finally moved Nancy Guthrie out the front door. That is the precise moment her chest crossed the 30-foot wireless threshold. That is the moment the digital medical tether violently snapped. The pacemaker dropped completely off the network. The smartphone remained behind untouched on the wooden nightstand. The silence of that digital disconnection is absolutely deafening. It marks the precise second the human extraction was fully completed. The local detectives understand the immense gravity of this digital timeline. They possess the precise entry timestamp and the precise exit timestamp. They just completely lack the physical identity of the criminal architect. They desperately need a biological anchor to tie directly to this digital ghost. That is exactly why the entire investigation is currently paralyzed by a microscopic biological puzzle. Remember, the single isolated drop of blood found on the concrete front porch. The preliminary rapid chemical test confirmed it belonged to the victim. That was the only straightforward part of the entire biological analysis. The advanced forensic processing immediately revealed a devastating complication for the prosecution. The blood sample collected from the porch is not a pure isolated genetic profile. It is a highly degraded mixed DNA profile. This means the genetic material of the victim is inextricably entangled with the microscopic genetic material of an unknown second individual. Mixed DNA profiles are the absolute nightmare scenario for forensic geneticists. You cannot simply run a complex mixed sample through the federal criminal database. The national database algorithms require clear, distinct genetic markers to trigger a match. A mixed biological sample is like trying to read two completely different books printed over each other on the exact same page. The local Arizona crime laboratories simply lack the advanced computational power to untangle the overlapping sequences. The biological sample was immediately classified as Priority 1 evidence. It was placed inside a secure, refrigerated federal transport container. It was flown directly across the country to an advanced, specialized DNA laboratory in Florida. That specific facility possesses highly proprietary genetic sequencing technology. They utilize advanced probabilistic genotyping algorithms to mathematically separate the overlapping genetic strands. They isolate the major contributor from the minor contributor. But this highly complex scientific process absolutely cannot be rushed. It requires weeks of continuous computational cycling by massive server farms. The entire criminal investigation is currently held hostage by a sequencing computer in Florida. The local task force can only sit and wait for the machine to spit out a clean genetic profile. While the Florida lab slowly grinds through the biological math, the local investigators are drowning in a sea of conflicting theories. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos has publicly stated his definitive assessment of the crime. He stood directly at the press podium and called this a highly targeted operation. He categorically ruled out a random crime of opportunity. The tactical precision of the camera destruction confirms his theory. The 41 minutes of controlled silence strongly confirms his theory. But the victimology completely shatters the basic logic of a targeted hit. Why does a highly capable, tactical, operative target an 84-year-old woman in a quiet suburban neighborhood? Kidnapping a human being for ransom requires a subsequent financial demand. It has been 3 agonizing months since the disappearance. The secure phone line has never rung. The encrypted ransom emails have never arrived. There is absolutely zero demand for financial compensation. If this operation is not about financial extortion, then what is the true underlying motive? Some prevailing theories point directly to the high-profile nature of her immediate family. Her daughter is a prominent national television journalist, broadcasting to millions daily. Does someone desperately want to send a terrifying message to Savannah Guthrie? That specific theory requires a level of sophisticated psychological warfare that rarely aligns with a silent home invasion. A kidnapper seeking intense national media attention usually wants to quickly claim responsibility for the act. They want the entire world to know they bypassed the security perimeter. This particular phantom clearly wants absolute silence. The conflicting psychological theories are quietly tearing the investigative team apart. Every single time they uncover a new piece of physical evidence, it points in two completely opposite directions. The mixed DNA sample promises an eventual biological identity, but right now it only provides an agonizing delay. The digital timeline proves the intruder was a highly disciplined professional, but the choice of target seems entirely irrational. The entire case is a massive logical contradiction wrapped in yellow forensic tape. The tension inside the Pima County Command Center is suffocating the detectives. They are staring at a perfectly executed crime scene with absolutely no logical motive attached to it. The biological evidence is securely locked inside a spinning centrifuge thousands of miles away. The DNA is currently out of their hands. But the federal investigators are not completely blind in this fight. The Florida laboratory is handling the microscopic genetic evidence. The federal behavioral profilers are currently focused on a much larger physical target. They are deeply analyzing the recovered cloud footage from 1:47 in the morning. They are no longer looking at the blank face hidden behind the black fabric mask. They are looking closely at the specific tactical gear he actively chose to carry into the darkness. That specific physical equipment reveals the terrifying truth about his ultimate intention. We are about to break down exactly what the profilers saw on that tape. Make sure you hit subscribe and drop your theory on the mixed DNA below, because the physical profile of this phantom changes everything we assume about the crime. The federal behavioral analysts isolate the recovered cloud frame. They magnify the digitized image of the masked suspect. They strip away the visual noise of the compression artifact. They focus entirely on his physical dimensions and tactical loadout. The suspect is an adult male. He stands approximately 5 feet 9 inches tall. He possesses a medium athletic build. He does not display the erratic, frantic movements of a desperate addict. His physical gait is measured and incredibly deliberate. He walks with the terrifying confidence of an apex predator. This is not a random scavenge for easy electronics. His chosen equipment definitively proves a highly organized objective. Look directly at his right hip. He wears an exposed holster mounted securely outside his waistband. The holster clearly contains a semi-automatic handgun. The presence of a visible sidearm escalates the psychological profile immediately. A petty thief conceals a weapon to avoid a weapons charge. A tactical operative wears an exposed sidearm for immediate lethal access. He expects physical resistance and he is prepared to terminate it. He did not breach this property to quietly steal jewelry. He breached this perimeter prepared for an armed confrontation. Now shift your focus to his shoulders. He wears a specific piece of load-bearing equipment. It is a black 25-liter Ozark Trail hiking backpack. The federal profilers are intensely focused on this exact item. Volume capacity is a critical indicator of criminal intent. A 25-liter pack is relatively small. It is classified as an assault pack or a day pack. It physically cannot hold standard stolen electronics. You cannot fit a laptop or a silver set inside that limited space. That specific black canvas bag is designed to carry something entirely different. It is designed to carry tactical supplies. It is designed to carry heavy zip ties. It is designed to carry industrial duct tape. It is designed to carry chemical sedatives. It is designed to execute a human extraction. We must deeply analyze this specific equipment loadout. Look closely at this combination of a retention holster and a 25-liter survival pack in a residential breach where zero physical valuables are missing. What do you believe was the true objective? Do you think the primary target was a hidden object small enough to fit inside that black canvas bag? Or do you think the primary target from the very beginning was an 84-year-old woman? Tell me your psychological read down below in the comments. We need to dissect the logic of this phantom together. Make sure you hit subscribe because the behavioral profile is narrowing rapidly. The visual evidence proves he is highly disciplined. The 41 minutes of silence proves he is completely fearless. The physical gear proves he came equipped for a sophisticated operation. He engineered an almost perfect physical crime scene. He controlled the environment completely. He bypassed the hardware seamlessly. But his entire meticulous operation is currently unraveling on a microscopic level. The physical investigation in Arizona is completely stalled. The digital timeline is firmly established, but it lacks a human face. The visual profile provides a physical description, but it lacks a legal identity. The entire weight of this federal case now rests entirely on a microscopic biological sequence. The forensic war in Florida is finally entering its final computational cycles. The Advanced Genetic Laboratory is actively processing the degraded blood sample found on the Catalina foothills porch. The massive server racks are continuously crunching the complex probabilistic algorithms. They are meticulously mathematically separating the overlapping biological markers. They are filtering the clean genetic code of Nancy Guthrie from the corrupted genetic code of her attacker. This is not a fast process. It requires immense computational power and rigorous scientific validation. The scientific community calls this probabilistic genotyping. The local detectives call it their only remaining lifeline. They are enduring a brutal psychological waiting game. They stare at the silent phones in the command center. They review the 147 cloud footage obsessively. They map the 41-minute dark window repeatedly. They cannot execute a search warrant based on a grainy silhouette. They cannot secure a federal indictment based on an isolated backpack brand. They need a definitive 12-point genetic match. They need the Florida laboratory to spit out a name. The reality on the ground in Pima County is absolutely chilling. We must be entirely transparent about the current status of this active investigation. There is no triumphant press conference scheduled for this afternoon. There is no suspect currently sitting in a concrete interrogation room. There are no steel handcuffs being locked around wrists today. The federal authorities are operating in a state of high alert paralysis. They have a clear visual suspect, but they have zero physical custody. Two agonizing questions continue to dominate the entire federal task force. The first question resides inside the spinning centrifuges in the Florida laboratory, whose unique genetic code is hidden inside that microscopic mixed DNA sample. The second question is far more terrifying, and it haunts the local community every single night. Where is Nancy Guthrie right now? It has been 3 long months since she vanished into the desert night. The massive grid searches of the surrounding canyons yielded absolutely nothing. The aerial drone sweeps of the rugged terrain found 0 anomalies. The digital footprint completely vanished the exact second the internal pacemaker disconnected. She is out there somewhere. And the disciplined operative wearing the black mask is still out there with her. He successfully executed a flawless extraction from a secured suburban residence. He left a pristine interior behind him. He vanished without leaving a physical trail. The man with the Ozark Trail backpack is currently breathing free air. He is walking the streets completely undetected. He is watching the evening news broadcasts, tracking his own crime. He knows the FBI is analyzing his every digital movement. He knows the lab is hunting his microscopic biology, but tonight he remains a ghost. The neighborhood of Catalina Foothills is completely paralyzed by fear. The wealthy residents realize their expensive security perimeters offer 0 protection. They watch the black and white federal vehicles patrolling the winding streets. They double-check their deadbolts every single night. They stare at their smart camera feeds with deep suspicion. The illusion of suburban safety is permanently shattered. The local police department receives hundreds of panicked phone calls daily. Every dark vehicle looks suspicious. Every unfamiliar delivery driver is heavily scrutinized. The community is hunting a shadow. The investigators are hunting a biological sequence. The wait for the Florida laboratory results feels like an eternity. The forensic technicians are working in consecutive shifts to accelerate the timeline. They know a violent predator is currently monitoring the investigation. The attacker knows exactly what he left behind on that concrete porch. He knows his genetic material is currently sitting under a federal microscope. This creates a highly volatile psychological scenario. A disciplined operative might remain perfectly hidden. A panicked operative might make a desperate secondary move. The federal task force must prepare for either outcome. They have specialized tactical teams on standby 24 hours a day. They are ready to execute an arrest warrant the exact second the laboratory confirms an identity. But until that microscopic match is finalized, the entire case remains suspended in terrifying silence. The 41-minute window of darkness remains completely unexplained. The pristine interior remains a chilling paradox. The man in the mask holds all the answers. The wait for justice continues tonight. The physical security of a modern residence is never decided by the plastic hardware mounted outside the front door. It is decided entirely by where the digital data secretly travels. The terrifying events in the Catalina foothills completely shatter our collective illusion of residential safety. We install expensive smart doorbells to feel completely secure inside our homes. We trust the heavy metal deadbolts to keep the darkness out. We sleep soundly because a glowing blue light constantly watches the driveway. This specific ongoing case teaches us a brutal necessary lesson about advanced criminal psychology and the extreme vulnerabilities of local security perimeters. A local memory card is absolutely useless against a physically aggressive and prepared intruder. They simply smash the plastic casing and take the vital video evidence with them into the night. The true defensive power of any modern home surveillance system relies entirely on immediate offsite data redundancy. The remote cloud backend is the only reason the FBI has a physical suspect profile to analyze today. The masked attacker neutralized the physical lens perfectly, but the encrypted digital stream was already miles away on a secure Google server. If you utilize smart home security, you must ensure your video data actively pushes to a remote server farm in real time. Do not rely on a fragile piece of local hardware that can be disabled with a single gloved hand in under 3 seconds. What this case teaches us about forensic psychology is even more deeply unsettling for law enforcement. We generally expect violent home invaders to operate with chaotic panic and desperation. We expect them to aggressively tear through dresser drawers and completely shatter glass windows. This case proves that a truly dangerous predator does not behave anything like a common street burglar. A targeted operative respects the physical environment they enter. They operate with terrifying patience and extreme discipline. They do not leave obvious physical chaos for the local detectives to easily follow. They manipulate the timeline perfectly to serve their own dark objectives. They understand the exact digital limits of residential security networks. They know exactly how long it takes for a medical Bluetooth tether to completely sever its connection. They understand the microscopic biological exchange that constantly occurs during a violent human extraction. This level of extreme criminal discipline fundamentally changes how we must evaluate our own personal safety protocols. You cannot prepare for a methodical ghost using standard burglary prevention tactics. You must secure the digital footprint of your home just as aggressively as you secure the physical locks. The federal agents understand this new digital battlefield perfectly. They are actively using the unseen digital infrastructure to slowly corner a highly disciplined phantom. The digital traps are fully set, and the microscopic biological trap is closing fast. We always return to the central haunting anomaly of that isolated Catalina foothills residence. An 84-year-old woman vanished completely into the cold desert air. Her blood permanently stained the exterior concrete porch for the crime scene technicians to find, yet the interior living room remained absolutely frozen in immaculate domestic perfection. The digital log recorded exactly 41 minutes of total uninterrupted silence before the medical device inside her chest finally went permanently dark. The entire federal investigation now hinges completely on the massive spinning centrifuges located inside that Florida genetic laboratory. They are meticulously separating the microscopic strands of mixed DNA to eventually reveal a monster. We will cover every single development in this active federal investigation as it officially breaks on the wire. The moment the Florida laboratory identifies the clear genetic profile, we will release an immediate forensic update video. The Florida laboratory moment. The federal task force executes the arrest warrant. We will break down the tactical operation right here on the channel. You must hit subscribe and enable all notifications so you do not miss the final resolution of this unprecedented security breach. The Phantom carrying the black survival backpack is still actively walking the streets completely free tonight. He left an impossible puzzle behind him, but forensic science is slowly catching up to his arrogance. Until the federal authorities officially release his legal name, keep a very close watch on your own digital perimeters. Check the cloud upload status of your residential cameras right now. Ensure your digital footprint is securely streaming off-site to a secure server, because tonight this unresolved investigation leaves us with one terrifying final thought. A. Heavy physical lock on a thick wooden door only exists to delay a panicked, desperate amateur. It does absolutely nothing to stop a disciplined phantom who already knows exactly who is sleeping inside.